Wow. Look at the size of that tree right there. This thing is wider than I am tall. This thing must be well over 100 years old. Look at the size of these branches here. Much, much thicker than even a very large man's body. And look how long they go. They curve all the way down to the ground and then even back up. It's beautiful and amazing how something so simple like coming out and looking at a tree for 10 minutes, hearing the sound of the wind, the woodpeckers out here, just being out here, even in a park, kind of walking around in a little, even faux nature, can really cools the temperature, chill you out, make you thoughtful. And you know what? I feel like this is a very good place and a very good time for us to have a little chat. Now, normally what I do on this channel are video adventures. They're like travelogues. They're like short films. We go and we have adventures, different places, various kinds of things. We'll go antiquing, or we'll go to Florida, or we'll go to France, or we'll go do Route 66, or we'll check out the original Starship Enterprise in Washington, D.C. Crazy adventures. But I used to, very often, intersperse these video adventures with more of what actually would be a vlog, where we talk together. I didn't do them all the time. I did them only occasionally. Rarely. I did them sometimes. And I think that now, sometimes has come again. Which means that if it's sometime, it's time for the intro that many of you will remember. It's the sometimes vlog. Yeah, 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 yeah. It's a vlog that happens sometimes. Whoa. I haven't done that in a while. If you're looking for a crazy adventure where we see some crazy stuff, I got a lot of other videos on this channel like that. This might be one that you're going to want to skip, though. This is mostly going to be just a chat about personal things. So if you're not into that, plenty of other videos for you. You know, we've done all kinds of crazy stuff lately. We got backyard Disneyland. We got driving the train at Knott's Berry Farm, filming locations for Jurassic Park, and The Mummy with Boris Karloff, all kinds of haunt stuff that just finished, a new Christmas at Disneyland video, lots of stuff for you to see. But if you're more into the sometimes vlog, if you want to step back in to the personal life, just for a personal chat here, come have a seat. Okay. Whew, it's been a long time since I have sat here in front of a camera. I've had it unedited, I hope. Hopefully nothing goes wrong. Just sort of conversation with you guys about stuff. I used to try to intersperse these sometimes vlogs between the adventures on a more or less regular basis. I really like, since I've been working and sort of living out life on YouTube, having these adventures, to live my life as an open book. And part of that was my whole quest for positivity thing, which many of you are familiar with. If you're not, you can go backwards. There's a lot of stuff about the quest for positivity, but the short version of the story is, in my life, I was always very positive, very creative. I loved puppets and Muppets and Disneyland and doing things and being excited and nature and going to Yosemite and lots of happy things in my life. But over years of being in a marriage that didn't work out because obviously it was apparently toxic, and being in a band for years and years, being involved in the punk rock scene and various other things, and mostly just my own attitude, and maybe it's artistic temperament, I don't know what it is, struggling with anxiety and depression, and leaning into them the wrong way, almost embracing them really, instead of kind of trying to struggle against them. I more or less found myself a few years ago just at this crossroads, 2012, 13, in my life, where I had just woke up one day and had this epiphany that I really am not who I am. Does that make sense? I really am not the person that I am inside, or that I want to be, is really not what's coming out of me anymore, like at all. It's just not there. No matter what I did, try to focus on marriage, try to focus on this, try to focus on that, it just all feels like it was falling apart. I was very, very sick. No career to speak of because I couldn't tour in the band anymore when you're having these health problems. As a stay-at-home dad, that part of life was good. I love my kid. I love spending time with my kid. But I just felt personally like a failure and all this stuff. Marriage, not so much working out. A lot of meanness coming at me. Some of it justified a little because I was sort of a miserable person because I was miserable. Maybe some not. Just depends on your perspective, I guess. But I really was struggling, really seriously, with anxiety, constant, chronic, crippling panic attack anxiety. Not talking about a little social anxiety, I'm talking about serious, debilitating anxiety and soul-crushing, almost life-stopping, life-interrupting depression in between. And I found myself being a very cynical person, just completely cynical, very misanthropic, just very hateful and bitter of all human life around me that was going good. Very much falling into the I'm a victim of my circumstances, which, I mean, in part I was, right? To give a little fairness to myself. You know, there were lots of things I couldn't control, but my attitude was, well, I'm a victim here. What can I do? Everything and everybody's against me. The universe is against me, which doesn't help with the being depressed. It doesn't help with the anxiety, obviously. And I reached a point a little bit before going through that divorce, still going through the trouble that was leading to it, but going through that, where I really decided, I don't want to be this person. I really need to do something. Try to be constructive, positive, take on constructive criticism, turn positive feelings into words, and express positive things to other people, put positive output, in other words, turn anxiety, that energy, into something productive, work, hobbies, whatever I can do, projects, which one of them turned out to be videos, and obviously turned into a whole other thing eventually. So these were good things. But then in the process of going through the divorce, trying one of those last-ditch marriage counseling class type things, I heard two things that really helped me. And they're both things that at first I was like, what? That's too simple, too stupid sounding, and I don't agree. But I tried very much to take these on board as constructive criticism and live as if they were true, and they both turned out to be true. They're hard pills to swallow. Nobody can make you swallow this pill. Nobody could have made me swallow this pill but myself. I decided. I was luckily, thankfully, on a path where I had decided I had to change something. Because clearly the way I was doing things and the way I was thinking of myself as a victim and the way that I had been trying to wait for a savior, wait for other people to help me, wait for other people to make me happy and feel complete, was not working. So those two things were, number one, the first thing they said that I really had a hard time believing, and this is still a struggle sometimes, is the only person responsible for your happiness is you. That was a hard one to hear. Like, what? What do you mean? All these things are making me unhappy. It's other people's fault that I'm unhappy, and this and this and this and this. The only person responsible for your happiness is you. You can't wait for other people to make you happy. You can't rely on a spouse or a friend or a job or a this or a that to make you happy. That has to come from somewhere within you. You have to choose. Not choose to be happy, right? That's a cliche thing that people say that's not very constructive. But you have to choose to accept responsibility for your own happiness, which means kind of putting yourself in a position to work on it, right? These are the things that I was taught, the things that I learned. I'm saying this is not my advice to anyone else, although I think it was useful for me to hear this. The second thing was, you cannot control what's happening, but you can control your reaction, which I like to phrase for myself and for everyone else when I pass this along, is you can't always control your circumstances, right? You can't control, like for me, I couldn't control getting celiac disease, which we didn't know what it was, so I was just sick and ill all the time. Couldn't control being sick and ill all the time. I couldn't control the fact that my wife and the person that I had spent all these years loving didn't love me at all. Wanted to love other people and do other things and not to be a part of my life. I could not control that. I could not control, I couldn't instantly change, let's put it that way, the situation that I found myself in. I couldn't control my circumstances. But when I heard the other half of that, but you can't control the way that you react to them. There's some caveats to that, right? Because there's some natural reactions. But let's take the exceptions out of this and just talk about the general thing. I went, I can control the way that I react to them. And I realized I had been reacting in a negative way to everything, right? I got to try to make this brief because I don't have that much time here with you. But I realized that a large part of why I felt so negative, why I felt bitter, why sarcasm and snark and this negative bubble that I had been trapped into, a I realized a big part of that trapping was me. A big part of the bars on the cage, a lot of the bars in the cage were put there by myself. And that if I wanted to change anything and to be positive and to do anything about it, that I was going to have to change myself. Now this happened right at the same time as the beginning of the horrible divorce. Lose your house, lose your kid, lose your car, lose your life, lose your identity as a person that's in a couple who was very obviously codependent and didn't even know it, as I'd been with the same person since I was 16 years old, that kind of thing. This was a life-shattering moment. And I knew, just given my history of fighting depression and anxiety and struggling with these things, it's sink or swim time. And I decided I'd rather swim. I'd rather try to be positive and try to find the good in things and try to find what's good about the situation. And thus I began the quest for positivity, which really starts with trying to find things to be grateful for, trying to wake up tomorrow and see a good day. I can't control whether today is going to turn out good or bad all the time. Some things happen that just suck. So step one was admitting, yeah, this sucks. But what about tomorrow? Tomorrow's fresh. I can wake up tomorrow and try again, and try again, and try again. And that's been the quest for positivity. And it worked for me. I'm not a mental health professional. I can't give other people advice. I can't tell other people what's going to fix their problems. Everyone's anxiety, depression, these things are very serious things, and they're very different for everyone. And I highly recommend seeing a therapist if you have the means or ability or opportunity to do so. To see a professional person, even if you feel like, well, I'm not crazy, I have just this mild problem sometimes with anxiety, or I'm feeling a little depressed, it can be really helpful. Therapists are for normal people. It's not other people. It's not sort of a thing where there's other people who need that and then the rest of us. No, it can be it's a good thing for everyone. It's like eating your vegetables. It's good for everyone. It's good for everyone. So if you're struggling, if there are things you're struggling with, instead of I'm not a professional here. For you yourself, you may want some help. And that's a good thing and a positive thing. So this is much my disclaimer that anything I say, it's about me and what I went through and what worked for me. But for the past year, that has sort of been eroded. So for 4 years of the quest for positivity, many of part of the quest we've discussed, talked about, was in the Sometimes vlogs, talking about my life and my struggles and what's worked and not worked. For the past year, I have been going through a custody dispute. And as briefly as I can, I will just say that it was just a thing that, from my perspective, could have just been a simple compromising thing, but it just couldn't, and turned into lawyers, and then, a lawyer for the kid, and there's lawyers everywhere, and everybody's life goes under a microscope, and everything that the people don't like about each other gets thrown into the thing, and everybody's motives are questioned, and every little slip-up that anyone's ever made in their life is going to be documented and thrown in and inspected and investigated, and these are not crazy circumstances, just normal life type of things, but all gets sort of superheated and poked at and prodded at and whatever. This has been soul crushing, and for a lot of reasons. Number one, financially. A year of paying lawyers, I had to have a lot of help, and before I asked for a lot of that help, I couldn't swallow my own pride and was trying to pay all kinds of bills I couldn't pay. Totally destroyed financially. No savings for taxes. If you're self-employed, you understand that is not going to be a good thing come April, right? No money for a wedding. You guys know I got engaged last year. Do you know how soul-crushing it is to look at your fiance's person with all this optimism that you gave a diamond ring to and go, I don't know when we can do this. I really don't know when. It's a blank question mark. And it might be a question mark for a long time, because this circumstance is just out of my control. I don't know what I can do about it. Heartbreaking. Then you have the crushing paranoia of just every little detail of your life being under a microscope. There's bad traffic and you're late. Why were you late? Oh, you're late because of this. Or you're late because you hate your child. Every little thing that you do, that you say, that you think, that you express slightly incorrectly can be taken, twisted, used against you. It's a very high pressure situation. Now, a lot of people would go, okay, no problem. But for me, that's a difficult one for me because I'm not very articulate sometimes. Sometimes I do express myself wrong. So I make mistakes, you know. I can sometimes be a little bit late, and sometimes I can be absent-minded. So making sure I'm on top of everything, someone who has, you know, pretty severe ADHD, that can be a very challenging situation and very highly stressful to be in. Then there's the impact that this is having, or maybe not having, but having on your child, that you have two parents who love their child. You have a child who obviously loves both parents, but you're disagreeing about some things. I was trying to line myself up as much, obviously, as I could with what my child wanted. So other person feels like there's different stuff that's better for the child. Things can get really bitter, it can get really nasty, the past gets dragged up into it. You don't want this stuff filtering down to your kid. You don't want him feeling the pressure. You don't want him to feel like it's his fault or that he has to pick a side or anything like that, obviously. So that is, if you're a parent that cares anything about your kid at all, you don't want that to get to them and reach them. But a year-long struggle where they're kind of going, what's going on with the schedule, or what's going on with this? What do you do? It's so frustrating and stressful, and I found all that anxiety and struggling with depression and anxiety came back in a big way for me this year. It was a big, mighty, massive struggle for the past year against all of this stuff. The financial stuff, the stress of being scrutinized. A big part of the stress for me too was what I do for work, essentially. Going to all these places, doing all these things, to be tethered to this meeting is this day, you have to be here, this, that, and the other thing, and to sort of, instead of having free-flowing creativity, to sort of go, you got to be here, maybe you can find something to do while you're stuck here with this and this. It was very frustrating, very difficult to plan ahead, very difficult to plan things. People would be calling me like, hey, we have this great opportunity, want you to come film this rad thing, and I can't. Do you know, heartbreaking, because sure, family comes first, and this is obviously the most important thing, and was the most important thing to deal with. But a year is a long time, and there are thousands of other people out there who have been with me for every step of the quest for positivity and all this stuff. I'm talking about you guys that I obviously don't want to let down. And people who come to me all the time, because your videos really help our family, or, you know, help at the end of the day when I'm really stressed out. I know for me, when I was going through a divorce, those silly BBC animal voiceover videos, you know, Alan, where they're voicing over, those saved my life. So I don't want to let those people down that sort of like are entertained and look at that stuff. So obviously I care about my work a lot. I really, probably honestly too much. I go way too far in the like, I can't film today, I'm having a bad day. You know, I only want to ever film when I'm super authentic, super sincere, because I don't like being phony, and I don't like filming stuff that I don't think is cool. There's lots of times I get to some place to go, yeah, this isn't great. I don't want to just film this and recommend this to people if they're going to come here and it's not also going to be great, right? So I do care. I care a lot about that stuff, and to just sort of have it like sorry, creative control gone. To not be able to plan, not be able to miss a lot of these rad opportunities was really frustrating, really difficult. To see videos eking out, you know, not as often as I wanted them to be, or not to be able to work on stuff. Tough. It turns out, I never knew this about myself when I was younger, but it turns out that I'm sort of one of those I live to work people. You have the people who work to live, people who work because they want the paycheck because they're going to go kayaking, or they've got big lives to lead out there. Then you sort of have people who, my dad's one of these people, who they just get up in the morning, and what drives them, a big part of what drives them is work. They just live to work. That they got some projects or something that they're really passionate about. They have to work on it or they'll go nuts. And it turns out that I'm one of those people. So that was very frustrating, very stressful. And obviously it's going to have long-term consequences, especially financially, that aren't going to end anytime soon. But obviously, because it is a legal problem, because of that microscope that I was talking about, because of the pressure, because of possibly accidentally saying the wrong thing, or trying, you know, when you're frustrated and you're going to disagree with someone, it's really easy to be like, they're jerks, they're wrong, they're evil. It's really evil, or it's really easy to say the other side is evil just because you disagree, right? And not to see the positive and the good motives. And I would never want to let something slip out accidentally or say the wrong thing. Certainly I wouldn't want to say the wrong thing that's going to get scrutinized the wrong way or get me in trouble. Obviously on top of that too. So because it's a legal issue, there were a lot of reasons to not do this. To not accidentally say something I didn't mean, to not accidentally let something slip. And so I sort of had to cut out the personal life and the open book access to the life, right? But I'm happy to say that we're having this chat, and I'm happy to say that some of that pressure is gone, because yesterday, well, for me, a few days ago for you, a decision was finally reached. We finally got into a courtroom. Lawyers for all sides made their presentations, made their case. A judge heard it. A judge made decisions. And I am very happy with those decisions. Nobody wins or loses in these kinds of things. I really can't stress that enough. That's not just the politically correct thing to say. That's how I actually feel. Nobody's a winner here. Certainly not me, because, you know, the point is that the whole thing isn't about winning or losing. It's for the child. And what happened here was that I feel very happy with the outcome. What the judge decided was best for the child, a schedule adjustment, and the different various other things, some medical decisions, things like that, which I can't be specific about for obvious reasons, were decided. And so a big part of the contention, a big part of the stuff being fought about, probably some of the biggest sort of blocks between the two sides of his families getting along, were decided one way or another the other day. And for the most part, this whole court thing is over. I'm very happy about the way things were decided. Most of the things, at least, went the way that I sort of hoped that they would go. More important to me, London is very happy with sort of the conclusions and the way that things are going to go from this. And I think as concerns you and me, you guys and me, one of the biggest, most important things is that I'll be able to have a predictable schedule where I know I can plan ahead to do these things. If people call with opportunities, we have these cool adventures, I'm able to schedule those out and do those things. The stuff doesn't kick in for a little while. There's still some messy times to get through here. But I gotta be honest with you, for the first time in a year, and I got really emotional about this when I walked out of the courtroom, having heard a lot of the things that I was wanting to hear, right? I walked out, and my family and the families were out of the courtrooms. It's just the people involved in the courtroom. And I walked out, they thought something had gone wrong, because I was just really emotional, because for the first time in a year, I just felt like I was able to breathe. I cannot explain this unless you've been through something similar, but I physically felt that weight come off of me. I cannot tell you how worried I've been for my kid, for my family, for my situation, for myself, for doing my job. All these different things, different points of being stressed. And I'm not saying my life was any worse than other people's. There's plenty of people who had it a lot worse than me, and I'm very grateful, don't get me wrong, for my life even during that. It's what kept me sane during the whole thing, was that quest for positivity. Looking for things to be grateful for. Acknowledging sometimes that things suck. I mean, the anxiety came back in a big way. Being depressed came back in a big way. But having that quest for positivity, having a lot of you guys sharing your stories, whether you knew what you were doing or not, what I was going through, about some of the quest for positivity stuff helping you, and bad situations people were going through where they applied that stuff. I can't control these circumstances, so I can control my reaction. Tomorrow's a new day. I want to pay forward the positivity, do positive things for others. Really inspiring stuff from other people. So I inspired people who ended up inspiring me. So it's like a whole just, you know, paying it forward positivity thing that happened. That really got me through. But still, there was quite a weight. And I physically felt that lifting off. I mean, in a unbelievably crazy way. I felt like I'd been punched all over my body. There were many tears yesterday. Tears of happiness, tears of relief. When London got to my house, he was very happy about the outcome. A lot more tears, and I love you, and this is going to be positive, and a lot of, okay, fresh start. A chance to hop back on top of that schoolwork, to work on these other stuff. This stuff is not going to be an issue anymore. It's solved, you know. Now we got a lot of other stuff to focus on. But a good day. But the funny part was, I thought I was going to wake up today and be like, full of energy, zipping around, let's go. Let's get to Knott's Berry Farm and down some boysenberry punch. And I woke up today so tired. We hear you, birds. I woke up today just deflated feeling. It was so weird because I was like, why? I should be like dancing on the tables, and inside I sort of am. But it's just so much, such a long duration of stress, you know. And like I said, all things are relative. There's a lot of people with a lot more or different stress than me. You can never really tell, you know, what someone's going through. Because for them, something could totally stress them out that wouldn't stress you out or me out, you know. But I didn't even realize how stressed and how just crushed I felt until it was off. And I feel like, if you've ever been in a car accident, then you'll understand this analogy. But when I was in a car accident, I mean, it took weeks just for your body to feel normal, just that impact. Even though, you know, you felt a little bit better a day or two later when some of the main bruising went away. But it just took a long time for your body to get better. I feel that now. Just that weight lifted off. So I wanted to share the good news that some of that stuff has been gone. And I've alluded to, like, how this court thing's going on. It's really stressful a lot of times, but I don't think people knew how stressful. We're talking about, in some states, a house worth of money. Stressful. We're talking about everybody's lives being interrupted and poked into, and everybody's motives and actions questioned at every level to get through this thing. And I think the net gain of this is all positive for the future, for everybody's future. Hopefully, now that these big things go on, some healing can happen and everyone can get along a lot better. I'm really looking on the bright side for the future and positive stuff for my own family. But it's also affected my day job kind of thing with you guys and the adventures and all that kind of stuff. And a lot of people are kind of, it's kind of weird. It's kind of closed off. The door's closed, a little less access to the personal life. And I didn't want people to think that it's because I shut you out or had become less authentic or something like that. I'm sure there's plenty of people who hate me and want to find something bad in everything I do, but I didn't want people to, you know, to think that I was shutting them out or whatever, or slacking off, or just chilling on a beach somewhere while this stuff was going on. This was hard. This was hard. But what I wanted to say, I wanted to share that stuff, get some of that off my chest. It's been a long time since I've been able to just feel like I had the freedom to just be open, right, about stuff. But I wanted to say, for myself, that having come to what's hopefully the end of this stuff, or at least the most part of it, not the financial stuff, but the most of the rest, that stuff, that simple stuff, the stuff that sounds like would be the least helpful, the cliche stuff, and nobody can tell somebody else to be positive or to fight things out. Yeah, you have to do it for yourself. Don't tell other people to do this. They have to decide they're at a point where they want to change and find things that they'd like to work on, and they have to take it on board themselves. But for me, I found that the simplest things, looking for things every day to be grateful for, especially the people around you in your life, and not trying to take them for granted, because that's a really easy thing to do when you're stressed out. To trying to choose to be positive about things, to try to see the silver lining in things, to try to see tomorrow as a fresh new start every day when these things were going on, to try to remember that the anxiety will not last forever. Don't embrace it, don't accept it, don't identify as, I am a depressed person, I am an anxious person, but tell yourself, this is something to struggle against. I'm going to struggle against this. This isn't who I want to be, and this doesn't have to define me or who I am. These simple things, especially remembering, I can't control this circumstance. I can't control the stuff that's happening to me, the bad stuff. It sucks, it is bad, I can't control it. But I can control, for the most part, most days, my reaction to it. And choosing to try to be nice to people, to be positive. It works. It just works. It doesn't solve everything. It's not a cure-all. But it really did help in a major way, especially when that anxiety came screaming back. And it's only natural you're going to have anxiety over these things, right? Especially when the pressure hit, people are screaming at you, when things are going wrong, you're in debt up to your eyeballs, and when you kind of say heartbreaking things to people that you love, just to remember that I can't control the circumstance now. All I can do is acknowledge that and decide to do the best that I can so that I walk away at the end of this being the most proud of myself that I can possibly be. And it was tough, but I'm hoping now, you know, again, that the corner has been turned here, that good things were given to my son here for his life, good decisions were made for him, and that this is a new day. This is a new day going forward. I mean, the schedules and stuff, they haven't kicked in yet, but it's a new day. So I just wanted to share that stuff. That's the stuff that I've been going through in my life for the past year that I really wasn't able to touch on. That's about as specific as I can be. Again, I don't like to demonize the other side, or I don't want people to be on my side. I don't want a pity party, you know. But I do like to explain what's been going on and share some of that with you guys. Mostly so that if you're like, 2 videos this week, there wasn't 7 or 1 or whatever it was, you can kind of understand that there was some heavy stuff going on behind that curtain I wasn't really at liberty to discuss. So that's as specific as I want to be about the contentious stuff. That isn't really the point. It's more about, you can do it. If you're going through something and you're struggling, you can do it. Obviously, there's lots of resources, help that you can get. If you're struggling with anxiety or depression, get help. There are people out there that can help you. There are ways of being helped. But there is also something to be said on top of that. For, you can do it. Stay positive. Stay the course. Find good motivations. Find things to be grateful for. And remember, you can't always control what happens or the outcome. But you can try to control how you react to it. The quest for positivity is strong, my friends. It is strong. I hope that you're on the quest with me. I think I'm about to run out of time. The camera's about to go dark. So for the moment, we've done our duty. I've done a lot of duty. I'm ready to go home and sleep well. Stay tuned, my friends, because a new day has begun. Adventures are coming. I love you all. Goodbye. Also, before we go, would you look at the size of this tree? It's gargantuan. Jeez, Latrice. Oh, look at this one over here. Look at the size of that gnarly guy. Holy smokes, what an oak. It is a good thing Halloween is over, because this looks just like the sort of tree that a headless horseman would pop out of, you know? Ooh la la.